like this are just like a green bean from the county. No, in Aroostook County, they have no flavor. They're hard, none at all. There's no flavor. There's really nothing. You judge them by their size and their shape and their color, but the real test comes after they're roasted and you taste them. You can eliminate a lot of beans because of impurities, you know, when you see them in the green form. But if they are specialty grade, you shouldn't have to deal with that. Those specialty grade doesn't allow for impurities, whereas commercial grades and exchange grades and even grades 1, 2, and 3 do have a certain allowance. We buy a grade of coffee called specialty coffee, which is a very select grade of coffee, way above the level that is generally auctioned off. Coffee is usually sold in commodity auctions, like any other commodity. It is, in fact, the second largest legal commodity traded in the world, only after oil is the only one for dollar value that's higher than coffee. So it's a huge market. The specialty market makes up less than 10% of the coffee market as a whole, the industry, but it's very select. The coffees have to meet rigorous standards of cleanliness and flavor and quality to get to that. And that is starting to find itself outside of that auction sort of mechanism that's normally used for coffee. And we buy through brokers and through organizations, some of which we have actual relationships with the actual grower and long-term contracts. But for a store our size, we generally buy either through a group buying thing or a broker, because we're not really large enough to buy enough by ourselves. The lore is some Ethiopian shepherd named Kaldi was watching his goats frolic in the desert, and after they ate the beans off this particular bush, they used to get super active and frolicky. And so he got curious about these beans, and it turned out to be coffee. And so that's the history. And then originally the coffee is grown, it's like a cherry when it's on the tree. It's a fruit. It looks very much like a cherry, and it has soft, fleshy fruit around. This is the seed. There's 2 of these little seeds inside each cherry. And originally they would eat, they made the fruit into wine, they made it into a paste, and they would eat it. Somewhere along the line, again in coffee lore, the monks decided that it would somehow keep you awake and allowed you to pray longer and harder. So they took it over, and they were the ones that discovered that if you roasted it and then brewed it into an elixir, that you had the best effect for staying awake longer. So anyway, that's the lore, and it's a great story whether it's true or not, you know. So, and it all comes down to what we know today, you know. Coffee originally was discovered in Ethiopia and Yemen, in the Horn of Africa, and in East Africa is where it was originally grown. And from there, it spread all across the world. There was a French soldier in the army of Louis XIV that brought the first coffee plants to this world and brought them to Martinique. And then they were actually smuggled out of France and grown in Martinique, and those plants are responsible for all the rest of the Arabica coffee in the Central America, South America, and Hawaii. All came originally from Africa.